with all that in mind, then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring up an editor. I'm using Notepad++. You can use whatever editor you want. Good old Notepad would work fine for this. I'm also, might as well bring up my command line interpreter for the moment. And again, I've got other videos that cover editors and IDEs and Notepad++ and command line interpreters. So if you need to refer to any of those, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that we would be good to say, okay, I'm going to copy this code, select that, Control C, come over to my editor, Control V, paste it in there. I paste it into a file that I've already called UmlToPs.ps1, .ps1 being the PowerShell extension. So I can do that. I'm going to save that. I just hit Control S. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, okay, now I want to run this. And so I'm going to type in /UmlToPs.ps1, and awesome, it works. Now, you might not have been excited as I am, but again, one of the things that I've harped on in UML, our design, is that our designs, our models, should not be dependent upon user interfaces. We'll deal with user interfaces separately, differently, at another time. But the key to me is that I did not get an error message. Okay? So, for example, if I come over here and I said, oh, let's make this 12A. Okay? And I run this, I get an error message. And that's because the term 12A is not recognized as the name of a commandlet, function, script, file, or operable program. Check the spelling of the name, or if a path was included, verify that the path is correct. And then it tells us in this file, at line 2, character position 13 is where it saw the error. So I'm taking the time to go through this because error messages are critically important. Okay. They're going to seem cryptic at first, and that's whenever you're dealing with a language, a new language, you're learning it. Getting to know its error messages and its error message formats and so forth is critical to knowing the language. And fortunately, a lot of languages will follow, a lot of translation environments, I should say, will follow the same format for messages. Where you get a response, it'll tell you the file, the line number in the file, and maybe even the character position on that line in the file. Now, that doesn't always mean that that's where the error is. Sometimes it could be something before this that causes the problem, but at least it gets us in the right ballpark, if you will. All right. And we can see here then that it's echoed that line out and said, okay, there's the line that it was. And it's putting the tildes under the character position where it saw the problem. And it says, oh, it didn't like that 12A thing. Okay. And then there's some more information here, command not found. So it was trying to interpret this as a command for some reason. As we get to know PowerShell better, we'll understand why that is. But it had no idea I was trying to give it a number. Okay. This would be a place where some valid command could be, but this wasn't a valid command either, so that's why it's giving us this idea of, oh, commandlets, functions, script files are not found. If you don't know what those mean right now, that's okay for this series. You can continue a little while, but we really ought to go back to that PowerShell or CLI series and really get a handle on what these things are, what they mean. For the moment, I'm going to take that back out then, and I am going to save this and run it again just to verify that, yep, okay, that's good and it works. So the next thing I want to cover then is the fact that I made a note down here. And back to the idea of, I know a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable not seeing something and not being able to type something into your program kind of thing. User interface stuff, it'll come later. But I will admit that for testing purposes, it is nice sometimes to see what's going on inside of our program. Now, this program is really, really simple. It's incredibly simple. But we could still spy on it and look and see, hey, what's going on? And so in PowerShell, we have a write host command. Okay. PowerShell commands are typically a verb dash a noun for readability. So this is saying write to some host thing. and then what you want to write out. And so if I said $, it's a lie, then it should respond by displaying the value of that variable. Remember, it's a lie is going to be the name for some memory location where a value is going to be stored. It's not going to display it's a lie itself. It's not going to display where in memory that is. It's going to display the value that was stored there in whatever method, whatever format it deems appropriate. So I'm going to come back over here then, and I'm going to say, I'll hit enter, and I will say write host, the command, followed by, let's say, $, it's a lie. Save that, come over here, interpret it, and we see that it's a lie has a value of true. And notice how it formatted it. It can format it however it wants. There are ways to control the formatting of that, but it displayed it with an uppercase T and obviously no $, because it's not displaying the variable. Or the value itself here is taking that built-in value of $true and formatting it this way. Okay, so you could put that anywhere you want. I'm going to cut it from here, and I'm going to paste it up here. And then I'm going to save this. And this is always good practice too. I've made a change. Can you predict what's going to happen? And it's always good to ask yourself, first of all, is it going to cause an error or not? And secondly, if it does cause an error, what will the error message be like? And if it doesn't cause an error, then what's going to happen? So if I run this now, and you've placed your bets, you've made your predictions, is that what you would have assumed? Now, you might have assumed, well, it's a lie. I haven't declared it or defined it yet, so it's going to cause an error and say, I don't know what that is. But PowerShell, well, some languages will, okay? But PowerShell says, hey, I'll make it up on the fly. I'll make it up on the spot here. Now, what's its value going to be? Nothing. In fact, it's not even false. Because if it was false, it would have displayed false. What it's saying here is, $ it's a lie is a name it made up now, but it has no value whatsoever. You might recall that we have terms for this of null and void. Null being a value of nothing, void being a type of nothing. Okay? And so what it's doing here is it's saying, oh, it's a lie. Its value is null, nothing. But nothing is something, it's null. We'll work on it. So what we can see is when it displayed nothing, it actually ended up displaying a blank line for that. So the write host command itself gives you a blank line. In other words, whatever it's going to write out, it will terminate that with an end of line character, a blank line for us. And so it actually displayed nothing and then ended the line. Okay. So play with that. You can put write host in wherever you want to see what's going on. And we'll play with it some more. We'll see some more examples as we get more complex code. But that's probably a really good place to stop for now. That covers quite a bit.